So, in this talk, I'm going to discuss the idea of exploring a bit. And this may be a little bit less structured um, than some of my talks, not that they're particularly structured, but I was actually thinking about this idea of structure. And for some reason, one of my favorite activities, and especially childhood activities, really occurred to me, which is I really loved taking walks as a kid and especially walking in the woods. And and I think what's interesting about that is having some sense of where you are and maybe walking some paths that you know already. But there was also this wonderful sense of adventure and exploration and and maybe noticing a new path that you hadn't taken before and just um, being as adventurous as you feel comfortable and really just exploring. And I love that as a kid, and I love it as an adult. Although I don't always get to get out in nature as much, being in the city. But even when I'm in a city, I love picking an area and picking a direction and just going. Um, and it's funny when I was a youngster and just starting to drive, I did the same thing. That I would take my car out and I would pick a direction. I would start driving, and at a certain point, I'd get to the edge of town that I was familiar with, and then in order to explore in the car and not get lost, I would pick a road and I would just go as far as I could for a while until I felt like it was time to circle back and head back home. And I didn't have GPS and all that, so it was a real wonderful sense of what's coming up around the next bend. And in that situation, I really had to, without really prominent landmarks, I had to stay on the path that I was exploring. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made it back home in time. um, and at times it was a little bit bittersweet because you're enjoying the drive, you're enjoying exploring, but occasionally I would see a fork in the road and think, ooh, I wonder what's over there, but I might not feel um, yet up to the task of taking that additional fork and not getting lost. Now, the beauty of exploring is that in time you start to learn the new domain. So, after perhaps hitting that fork a certain number of times, I might feel confident that I know enough of the landmarks, like, you know what, I'm going to take this other fork this time and see what's out there, see what's on that horizon for a while. And occasionally I'm making wonderful discoveries, maybe running into a lake or into a river, not running into it, but discovering a lake or a river, or perhaps taking a walk there. Um, so what I find particularly satisfying is the movement back and forth between structure and exploration. And whether it's recording a talk or playing music or exploring movement or dance, I love the same thing of, you want to have some vocabulary that you can build on, um, and perhaps some landmarks to have some sense of orientation. And then it's great to just let it rip and really explore and see what's going on. And when you do have a good landscape, a good like sight line to a landmark, then it really frees you up to move without any concern about getting lost. And certainly these days we have our smartphones and all kinds of ways of having our orientation taken care of for us. But it's also really fun to do it with your senses, with your eyes, and with sound. And there's a place that I go hiking in upstate New York, and the sound of the train going by or the highway is always there as a point of orientation. So even if I get a little bit turned around, I can very often use that sound to guide me back to where I am. And this is also very true in jazz improvisation. It's like you can explore, and yet you have the kind of the cadence of the song that, or the bass line that brings you back. It brings you back to a feeling of the known. So again, this rhythm of what can I explore, what can I discover as new, and how do I return home and return to the familiar. Um, so that's what was on my mind today, and I hope that will encourage you to go out and explore, and pave some new paths for yourself in whatever it is you're exploring. And if anything, this is an invitation to explore and move beyond particular structure. That's not, I'm not trying to belittle structure. Structure is key to allow expansion, to allow exploration. So I hope you enjoy that. Until next time.